KSUU Thunder 91 presents The Night Crew.
Thunder 91, welcome to The Night Crew, where we have a special guest today. It's John Januvas from Harding Avenue.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, hello. How are you doing today?
Quite good.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Alrighty, well, we're here to talk about your newest single
Yes.
for Harding Avenue. It's Frisbee.
Frisbee.
Awesome. So, can I ask you, what was the process like making that song? Just coming up with the idea and stuff.
Frisbee's been around for a while. I think I wrote it. It's been a couple years since I actually wrote it, so I don't know exactly when. But it was spontaneously written in an afternoon. At least, well, I say written, but I just mean the guitar part. I composed the guitar parts in an afternoon. And I think the next day I recorded a little demo and sent it to Ethan and said, hey, I've got this cool new project. It'd be fun if we could get Harding Avenue, the band, to work on it. And he said, well, this is cool. And then it kind of disappeared off the face of the earth for a while.
Just gone like that?
Yeah. And suddenly, towards the end of the summer, he emails me back with a fully fleshed out drum track for the song. Just out of nowhere.
Just boom.
Yeah.
There it is.
And on the demo, I had just kind of made a basic drum track using a program. And I just said, Ethan, do whatever you want. And I opened the file and I played it, and it absolutely blew my mind. It was leaps and bounds beyond anything I had really expected for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the beginning of turning Frisbee into a real song. It went from just a kind of fun rock and roll guitar jam into this, and it went towards what it is now, this kind of proggy rock, complex composition that is completely grown out of its own shoes. And it's what I never expected it would be, but it's fantastic.
I think it's funny that you say proggy rock.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I understand what that is exactly.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that is,
Okay.
so please explain.
All right, I get lost in terminology sometimes.
No,
so
you're good.
I'm just referring to prog rock, progressive rock, where they kind of, which is just a genre where rock bands kind of mix things up a little, play with weird time signatures, weird timing on songs, just anything weird, out of the ordinary for rock and roll. You can kind of consider it prog rock. Anything like Rush. Rush is a good example.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha, yeah.
So just a little off the beaten path, usually a little more technically complicated.
Gotcha, yeah.
That's how I would define it. And that's what this became, was more technically complex than just a basic kind of guitar solo-y jam.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And it looks like the one of the
Second
other
guest.
the second guest, one of the other members of Harding Avenue has just joined us. Hello, Ethan Baum.
Hello. I'm
it
interested to know how John defined prog rock. I was listening in my car as I drove here.
So you didn't hear his definition?
No, I was running inside during that part.
Gotcha. Well, is it okay if I give my
I want to hear what
absolutely.
have you learned.
So basically it's progressive rock. And so a lot of rock bands just do different things with like time signatures and stuff, and anything that's just different and kind of fun and interesting with the song. And he said that Rush was a good example of that.
That is true.
How accurate was that? Was I on or off or anything?
Yeah, that's about how I
perfect.
define it. Yeah.
Sweet.
That's why we love prog rock. Gosh
Yeah.
dang. It's fun stuff.
Gosh darn it.
Gosh, Chucky darns.
Nice. Well,
Anyway.
now that you're both here, I was also wondering, how did Harding Avenue start? Like, I mean, you just said that you had... When did you come up with the idea of Frisbee?
It was a couple years ago. I don't even really know the year.
May of 2020, I believe.
Okay.
So it's interesting because Frisbee is honestly a big point in our starting as a band, I
Yeah.
suppose. I mean, me and John had been talking about starting a band for a while, but we didn't. It was just us. And he had mentioned his friend Will and told me that the guy was really good at bass. I'd never met him. And Will was included on the email, which is also funny because I thought his name was Will Walker because his email is heaton.williamwalker. And I was like, that's the coolest name I've ever heard for a bass player ever. Anyway, So
As in walking bass lines.
walking bass lines.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Will Walker.
When I made that connection for the first time, I was like, whoa, it's just so perfect.
Yeah.
It's so perfect for a bass player.
I didn't make the connection for a long time. I didn't know. I've known Will for a long time, and I didn't know his middle name was Walker until fairly recently.
Well, I mean, for me, his name was just a name on an email that summer. So, yeah,
That's
that
fun.
was the first time I'd ever heard of Will. Really, or I don't know. That was the first song we made together. Will never sent his bass parts.
No. What happened, I actually remember this distinctly. So I mentioned that you sent back the drum track. It blew my mind. And like a week or two later, I saw Will in some social setting. I think he was at his uncle's house, just across the street from mine. And I saw him there, and I showed him Frisbee with the drum track. And all of a sudden, he was interested. And I think that's what actually finally got him to start doing stuff with Harding Avenue, and then Harding Avenue became Harding Avenue.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that this was like the song that really brought you guys together. That's
In a way, it was.
In a way,
that's
yeah.
really cool. Yeah.
I mean, we had others before that, but they're all still lost on my computer
Yeah.
somewhere.
They're
Somewhere.
in development limbo.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, you guys have been working on the song for a long time. So, like, what has the process been like since adding the drum track? Has it been...
Well, we did bass about a year ago.
Yeah.
now.
Well, so after the drum track, we had to re-record the guitars.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because it was just a demo done in my bedroom, and it wasn't very good. So we had to re-record all the guitars,
We've done the guitars twice.
We've done the
As a
guitars-
matter of fact.
and yet another time for the leads, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
color
was a
change.
bright change.
I like that. Yeah.
But after the guitars, it kind of sat around for a while. We had a lot of projects going on, and we would just kind of go down different rabbit holes with different projects. When it was because some of the bass takes didn't turn out, I think.
Yes.
And it took a
Oh,
long
yeah.
time to get those redone.
That is true. I mean, we spent, if I remember right, we spent the better part of 2 afternoons in John's parents' basement
Yep.
recording the bass parts. And credit given where credit's due, Will wrote some amazing bass lines
Yeah.
that honestly gave the song so much more of a dimension and of a melody and everything. But there was 2 sections in particular where he wasn't sure what to do, and so we tried to write something, and I think John was restringing his guitar, so he wasn't, I don't think you ever heard while we were recording, so it's my fault. But the parts that we wrote, there was 2 sections that comprised like quite a bit of the song that didn't turn out. Both like one was just completely out of tune, and
Yeah.
one just like, I'm not sure what Will was like trying to do this vibrato thing. Anyway,
Yeah.
Sorry, you keep going.
I think John's right though. That was like, we got all the way done. We had a lot of momentum. We got all the way done with the bass, and then we listened to the bass with the guitar on top, and suddenly realized that half of the song didn't work. And that was disheartening enough that I think that the song went back into limbo for like a year.
Ooh,
Next-
So
The next few times we recorded, it was just different projects. Oh, we'll do Frisbee next time. Yeah. Oh, we
Yeah.
got to work on Frisbee, and it just didn't happen. Which is the story of Harding Avenue.
that's true.
Until fairly recently.
We've got a lot of stuff coming down
Yeah.
the pipe. Because,
Nice.
I mean, we haven't ever stopped working on music that for the last 2 years. We've
Yeah.
got stuff. I mean, John and I have been working on stuff since December of 2020 together.
Yeah. Well,
And-
December of 2019.
2019. Sorry,
yeah.
December of
It's
2019
been
together.
quite a while.
And
Wow.
I mean, through that, we've got a number of songs that are like very close to being done that, just need a few things here and there. So this is the beginning of a big push from us here at Harding Avenue
That's
to
good,
just actually, put our music out into the world. But yeah.
And I mean, I just last night I heard a few different things that you guys had made. Like I heard one of Reggie's caused songs, and I heard a few more of like was it called High Desert?
High Desert.
High
yeah.
Desert, yeah.
That's a good one.
And Will's song The Storm.
The Storm is, yes.
They're just, I think it's amazing how different they all are, and just how unique it is for your guys' band. It's a different sound for everything. I mean, like you said, like Frisbee is super prog rocky.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, everything else is just super different. It's really cool.
The Storm is like a soulful string piece.
Yeah.
High Desert's like a psychedelic rock with Western overtones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what Reggie's is, but it's brilliant.
I couldn't classify Reggie's.
No.
It sounds kind of like soul. I don't know.
I don't know how to classify it either. It's like electric in a way, like with his with his other songs, but it's not quite. I feel
Yeah.
like soulful is a really good way of putting it.
I think that's something that I could say like would compliment everyone in Harding Avenue. Is that like, if I got tossed into a band with anyone else, they might really hate me because I hate to like stick to a style of music, and I don't think any of us do. Which and going along with that, a lot of people that have to stick to a style of music, like you get the metal people that play only metal, right?
Yeah.
It's because they really don't know how to do anything else. But everyone in the band is so versatile that, I mean, you've got John that can like do metal throat vocals, and then he can turn around and play something like Give Me Some Lovin', or I don't know, the Better If track, or whatever else we've done. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I've learned a few times that you can do metal vocals,
Yeah.
and every time it just like shocks me, right?
he can.
Heavy. My heart really lies with heavy metal, but I gotta tone it down for just about everything.
Gotcha. Well, before we actually take a listen, I just want to ask, like, what are some key things that we can like listen to, like?
Do you want to do the actual song last, maybe? Because I've got like the songs I have picked out will like lead into it, if that makes sense.
That's fair. I think that we were thinking we were gonna play it, and then we were gonna end the show with your guys'
Do the background
songs.
afterwards.
Yeah, but
Okay.
about now though.
I would
That's
say
fine.
That's okay.
listen for the synths. Ethan's production work on this completely vitalized the song in a way that exceeded all my expectations. So the production and all the added, I don't know, frosting of the synths and the effects really brought it to a whole new level. That's what really makes it for me.
And listen to the guitars.
Yeah, it's awesome. I do actually need to download it real quick too. I kind of
Oh,
forgot about
come
that
on,
part.
Gravy.
I'm so sorry.
Boo. Well, I
Amateur
haven't
hour.
heard it at all. Like 0%
You've never
of it.
heard it?
On purpose.
I've asked her
that's
if she
cool.
wanted to hear it.
Many times.
That seems. I'm surprised.
I didn't want to hear any of like the process portions because I didn't want to compare it to anything other than the final product.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, it's come a long way.
It's so good too. I'm really excited to show it. I
It
guess.
is definitely my most complicated mixing project of all time.
Frisbee is my baby. It's been one of my most anticipated projects probably ever in all my history in writing music, and it exceeded every expectation. I'm really, really happy with this because I always thought I wanted to have a cool bass track and loud guitars, and that was about it. And then I went, well, what about a little bit of synths in there? Give something for Ethan to do, and it just grew into something cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think on that note, I'm ready. So should we give it a listen?
Yeah, here's Frisbee, the greatest song ever recorded in a bunch of basements of all time.
Yes. All right, here it is on Thunder 91. The first reveal too.
Yes.
Are you guys ready?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'm
Here it
very
is.
excited.
Thunder 91. That was Frisbee by Harding Avenue.
Radio debut.
That was so good.
Well, thanks.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I've had the chance to listen to a few different versions of it, and it's so good. Every time. It's so good.
Well,
Always.
Well, thank you very much.
thanks very
For
much.
sure.
Yeah, make sure you watch out because Gravy here is making us a music video that's going to blow your mind for this song.
I hope it's as good as the song. Like, honestly.
I think it will be. I've seen some of the footage you shot.
I'm pretty
Okay.
impressed with
Looking
the
pretty
footage.
cool.
Thank you very much. But can you tell me, like, you said that this was one of the most difficult songs to mix. What was the mixing
Yes.
process like?
Well, I don't know. What do you want to know?
Well, like, what made it difficult and
I
what
guess
made it...
It's not really the most difficult. It's probably just the most complex. I mean, when you're doing
Okay.
a mix like this, we had huge guitars, and we wanted everything to be just massive drums, guitars, bass, synths.
And that can easily devolve into noise
Yes,
if
which
you're
Yeah.
not careful.
was our first problem when we recorded the guitars. What song are you gonna play next?
What song are we gonna play next?
Yeah.
Hold up. Let me pull it up real quick.
Am I allowed to like request one of my songs and I'll explain the guitar thing?
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
sure.
Like I won't play it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I have an example of what I'm going to talk about.
Yes.
Okay.
If this computer is always a little slow, so let me see if. But there we go. It's working now. Also, I noticed some changes in the tone of the guitar, as well. So, John, you said that the guitar had to be re-recorded a couple times, right?
Yeah.
So, what was the tone like? What was the process of getting the tone just to what you wanted it to be?
It was complicated. I got a different amp in between the demo and the final takes, and that changed a lot of things. And we had issues with not enough gain, too much reverb, not enough reverb.
Just about anything you can think of.
Yeah, we got the rhythm tracks done pretty effortlessly. Those
Yeah.
went pretty well.
I mean,
That's
as
good.
far as playing goes, John,
There were some weird low frequency rumbles in there that we could never figure out where they were coming from.
Yeah.
But the lead was the biggest problem, and it's because you need really tight tones for guitar leads, guitar solos. And I would either put in too much delay or too much reverb, and it would make it too muddy. So you need clarity for those leads, and
Right,
it just
yeah.
wasn't working. So like a week ago, we finally redid the leads and eliminated those problems and got the final takes.
yeah.
And it sounds amazing.
Well, thank you.
Seriously, yeah.
I can still nitpick it, but I'm quite happy with how
I
it
think
turned out.
That's good.
the performance overall is genius.
Yeah, seriously.
The rhythms, we did re-record the rhythms a few times.
I don't even remember that.
You don't remember that?
No.
So, I mean, here's what I remember from the rhythms. The problem was, at first, specifically, we had too much gain. And John has an EVH 5150 amp, which is like one of the gnarliest tube amps
It
of
has
all time.
a
I've-
lot of gain.
I've heard many good things about these amps. or
Yes,
This amp.
Yeah.
they are very legendary.
I will warn anyone who may think about getting one that they have more gain than you think. Sometimes, even for a metalhead like me, it's hard to dial it back enough. It might just be old tubes, but they're very gainy. They're loud and they're crunchy.
Anyway, that presented like a big mixing problem that anyway, it was quite a mind puzzle for me to figure out how to get these to fit together, because the problem is, if you know anything about sound, quick crash course, white noise is basically like that's the noise you get if you turn on your TV and there's nothing on, right? The
Yeah,
psh.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So white noise is essentially all frequencies happening at the same time. But you don't. I mean, that sounds good in physics class, but once you see that in real life, I mean, what I'm saying is, if you put enough gain on your guitar tracks and then layer them on top of each other, it actually starts to sound like white noise, and that's not even like an exaggeration, huh?
No,
Do
not
you-
at all.
Do you remember when we had those, like the first takes we did? I mean, they were just over the top, too much gain, and then we put the two, because it's double tracked, we put the two together, and it was like noise. You couldn't hear the bass, you couldn't hear the drums. So we re-recorded all of the guitars, and I actually ended up doing a secret technique that I
Ooh.
learned from the one and only Mr. Tom Scholes. Do you remember when I sent you that long email about this?
I sure do.
I was out digging sprinklers, and it was like the summer that I did the drums for this song, actually, forever ago.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the first time I've ever tried this little technique that Tom Schultz did from Boston. If you're not familiar, the lead guitarist, engineer, and mastermind of the best band that ever was a band in the history of bands, Boston.
Really? You think so?
I'd say so.
Okay.
That's also a title given by a radio DJ from my childhood. Anyway,
Gotcha.
but this was like a very large experiment that I always wanted to try on the guitar tone, and we tried it, and it worked, thanks to a piece of gear that my dad gave me from the 80s. that I now have, and we put them together and they sound like massive and they fit in the mix really well. I don't know. What did you think about that?
The technical process goes over my head. I just play the guitar, but I have a basic understanding of what's going on, and it's quite brilliant, and it worked really well.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think so.
It helped to level out a lot of the problems that we were experiencing while still keeping the guitars sounding really big.
Like huge.
Yeah, which
say.
was a primary part of my vision for this song.
You mentioned the equipment that you used. You guys use analog equipment, right? If you can, for at least Frisbee.
For almost everything.
Yes.
Yes.
We're even getting into tape at this point, so it's an expensive venture, but
You are getting it to tape.
yes.
Gotcha. Very cool.
So, yeah, we'll have our first song recorded all on tape is like in the works right now. So
That is way cool.
It's been quite a journey, that one. It gives me a whole new respect for all the complex music recorded on tapes back in the day. These guys must have done a lot of work.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
crazy. It's a lot easier to just open your computer and chuck tracks around.
Mm-hmm.
But where's
But-
the fun in that?
Yeah, and it doesn't sound nearly as good.
Exactly. Well, I think that we're good to get started on the music part. So, what was the song that you wanted
Yeah,
to
if
hear
you want
first?
to play my Boston song,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
can hear
Absolutely.
that Tom Scholz definitely uses this, which I'm not sure if I'm not sure exactly what he does. His guitar tone is something of a mystery, but the one time I was out digging sprinklers,
Yeah.
listening to Boston, I suddenly had this epiphany of how the guitars worked, and I ran inside and I sent John an email that was like 3 pages long.
It was long. It was
think
really long.
I even drew him a diagram, I think, of how we could do it. And then we didn't end up doing exactly what I thought, but the same concept for this song. Anyway, I think that if you listen to Boston and you listen to Frisbee, you might notice that the guitar tones sound slightly similar, just in their largeness and the
Gotcha.
way they're mixed. But
Alrighty.
anyway,
And real quick, John, what was the song that you wanted to hear right after Peace of Mind by Boston? What were the songs that you picked?
Let's do Shockwave Supernova by Joe
Alrighty,
Satriani.
sounds good. I am excited for
Yeah.
that one.
This Frisbee, the song we are finishing production on, was heavily inspired by Joe Satriani. He's a virtuoso rock and roll guitarist, and he's taught some of the big names in rock and metal. I think he taught Kirk Hammett of Metallica.
Oh, wow.
He's extremely skilled, and I really like how he writes and composes songs. They're all very centered on guitar, but he does it in such a way where the guitar always remains dynamic, and in a lot of his songs, he does a lead guitar part that actually was a poor example of this, but in a lot of his songs he does a lead guitar part that has some repetition to it that is essentially filling the place of where a singer would usually be. And that's how he keeps his songs so catchy and interesting, because he fills out the formula that people are used to in rock and roll, but instead of a singer, it's a guitar.
That is so fascinating.
Yeah, so that's why I stuck those leads. Frisbee originally was just those rhythm parts, and they were originally all in weird time signatures, but I eventually simplified them and put the leads over them because I really love Joe Satriani and how he composes and how he lays things out and just his way of making music. And so the song is very much my own style, but the layout was heavily inspired by Joe Satriani.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Especially, I mean, you just said that, like the guitar replaces the singer parts.
Yeah, essentially.
That just kind of blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I've always thought, like, oh, why don't people do that? They already have been. I
Yeah.
just didn't realize.
He
have
does.
you ever heard of smooth jazz gravy? It's gonna blow your mind.
Does smooth jazz do that too?
It's kind of
didn't
like
know.
that same thing, but with saxophone.
Oh, that
instead
makes a
of
lot of
people
sense.
Yeah. It's the same formula where instead of just showing off all the time and shredding, Joe makes catchy leads that fill the place where a lead vocal would usually be.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's like seriously so cool. Well, and also we've got Peace of Mind by Boston, Ethan.
Yes.
So that was to help explain the mixing process, right?
Essentially, yeah. The guitar tone, guitar mixing that we have on this track is reminiscent of Tom Scholz' Boston tone. So
Nice. Also, my mom texted me, and she said Boston is one of the best bands ever.
that's true.
So
Your mom is absolutely correct.
Your mom's correct.
I mean, just name another band that you can just listen to their albums all the way through and there's not any bad songs. But that's what happens when you spend years writing and working on music and you don't try to just push stuff out to make money.
Yeah.
So, props to Boston.
Props to Boston. Well, should we go on to our next little song segment?
Yeah.
Do you guys want to talk about the acoustic guitars? Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. So your song is
My
Rush.
song is Rush,
yeah.
Gotcha.
which, sorry.
Oh, it's your song. You explain it.
I mean, everyone, this is your story, though. How everyone thinks that Frisbee sounds like Rush.
Yeah. So what I wrote Frisbee, I had Joe Satriani and my own styles in mind, but when I showed it to my dad, he said, that sounds like Rush. And when several other people have heard it, apparently they thought the same thing.
Including me.
Yeah. And we kind of leaned into that in a way with something
That
Ethan encouraged me to do.
crunchy bass tones and the acoustic guitar, which that's also a Boston thing, I feel like, but definitely a Rush thing to put a little acoustic in with your electric guitar. Makes it punchier.
It
Makes the mix sit better. So
I always just thought it sounded cool. I didn't realize how much punch it added. But by doubling the rhythm guitars with just an acoustic guitar, it really beefed up the whole tone of the song.
Seriously, I noticed it too when I heard it, and I was just like, "There's an acoustic guitar in there. Like, that's so cool."
Yeah,
You know?
it was Ethan's idea. If you ever need anything produced, send it to Ethan Baum.
yeah,
He-
send it to me.
He's a genius.
If you ever need any fossils prepped,
That's a little more derived.
I know a guy
There's
by
a
the
guy
name
for
of
that.
Jonathan Januvis, professional preparatorier,
Best in the West.
the best in the West, you might say. But anyway,
That's a story for another time.
yeah. Anyway, music.
Alrighty, let's give Lessons by Rush a listen.
Oh,
If
here I
this
have one more
mouse
thing to
works.
say
Oh,
about
yeah, real
this.
quick.
This is a cool one because of any song I've ever heard. I mean, lots of songs will put an acoustic with an electric, but this has this really nice riff that almost crossfades between an acoustic and an electric at the very beginning, which I
Oh.
love. So they're both going the whole time, but the intro starts on acoustic and then it crossfades into electric. And I believe this is the song I sent to John, telling him that we should put an acoustic in Frisbee. Isn't it?
I think
Either
so,
this
but
or
it sold
Fly
me.
By Night. I don't know. This is a fantastic song, though.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's give it a listen here on Thunder 91. Here is Lessons by Rush. Thunder 91, that was On Fire by Van Halen.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you're a big Van Halen fan.
I am a huge Van Halen fan.
I
huge.
figured.
Yeah,
Yeah. He's one of the greats, honestly, so
he was.
yeah.
Are you talking about David Lee Roth?
David Lee Roth?
No, Eddie. Of course, Eddie.
Oh, Eddie. Sorry, that
Yeah.
was a joke because. Never mind.
Okay.
Van Halen is a band, But
Eddie was Van Halen, and especially Eddie Van Halen's guitar playing was very influential for driving me into learning rock and roll guitar. And that song in particular, I included it in there because it's one of their heavier songs, and it was one of these songs that led me down the irredeemable path of heavy metal. That's one of the ones
we're
that
still
kicked it
trying to
off.
get him back now.
It's never gonna
No, don't
happen.
try to get him back.
Just kidding.
It'll never happen.
We don't need to.
It's a good place to rest.
It is.
Yeah, just stay there.
Oh yeah,
Don't
it's
go
a lot of
further
fun.
into black metal or
No.
any of that stuff.
No, that's too depressing.
okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I always find it funny. Just like on Instagram, I'll get random just feed that's like the different types of metal. And I think that they think that I'm so much into metal that I like know the differences. And I know them a tiny bit, but I'm not super into it or anything.
I was actually thinking that we as Harding Avenue should start making music in the wood genre, or perhaps aluminium.
Ah,
On the softer side of
Yeah, well, instead of rock or metal, we could go with wood.
so would wood be like an acoustic guitar?
I don't know.
Like a
I
guitar
haven't thought about that far yet.
unplugged? Well, we have reached a little over our hour, actually.
Huh.
But thanks you guys so much for joining.
Absolutely.
And you guys can follow Harding Avenue on Instagram at...
At Harding Avenue. I
Sweet.
think it's just harding.avenue.
That's what I thought, but...
You can also follow us in real life. We like that.
Oh,
No,
do
you
you?
don't.
No, we don't. That's
No.
scary. But
No.
yeah.
Also, where can we find your guys' music?
Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, if you're into that
Oh
sort of
my.
thing. Usually Reggie is here to say that. Tidal, of course.
YouTube.
YouTube is the best because we have videos on there. But yeah, also Amazon Music. If you're like me and you use Amazon Music, it's freaking dope.
Loser.
It's freaking cool.
Yeah, I'll judge you for that one.
Everyone loves Amazon Music
It's true.
because everyone uses it.
Yep.
But anyway, look us up, Harding Avenue. There's no one else named Harding Avenue anywhere, ever. So
It's hard to do
It's-
nowadays. It's hard to find a band name that no one else has done.
it
Mhm.
is.
That's fair.
Trust
Yeah.
me. We looked for a band name for a long time.
A long time.
And you just picked Harding Avenue.
Well, I wanted to name our album Harding Avenue because that's where I live.
Uh-huh.
That was my plan all along. And then one day, the great Will Walker said, what if we just named the band Harding Avenue? And I said, well, okay. And then I thought about it, and I was like, that's actually a freaking dope idea.
I thought it was your idea. I didn't even know Will came up with that.
No, it was his
They just brought it
idea.
up, and I said, yeah, sure, that works.
Cool beans.
So much commitment.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, guys.
Well,
And
thanks for
again-
having us.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
Keep an eye out for Frisbee. It'll be posted to all the aforementioned musical platforms shortly.
Very soon.
Yeah.
So, and come listen to John at Guitars Unplugged tomorrow,
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
from 10 p.m.
SUU living
From
room.
10 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Yes.
7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
That's what I meant.
SUU Student Center living room. Free crumble.
All
And
the
Jonathan Januvis, a.k.a. John Nuvis.
No way.
That is
His
not
license
what he has
plate
his
number
name as.
is...
I hate that.
Oh.
I'm performing under Twiddles.
Yes.
That
Wait,
has to do
really?
with
Yeah,
Frisbee.
that's
That has
what
to do
it
with
says.
Frisbee,
Oh,
but that's a
that's
rabbit hole.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
When Frisbee does come out, you can listen closely to see if you can hear the twiddles.
They're in there.
Yeah. Even more reason to go listen to it when it comes out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And you can just listen to it however much you want.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just... It will be on Thunder 91 too, but
Sweet.
anyway. Watch
Alrighty.
out for it a couple days. I promise I'm working on it. It's coming.
I'm
It
glad.
won't be 2 more years.
It won't be 2 more years. Maybe 1. Not 2.
Oh.
Ah.